November 12th, 2020 Planning Board meeting. I'm going to move the second item up to number 1. Sorry, Mr. Jack. We have a conceptual on
Should have come in at 8.
AG Paintball at 158 Deering Center Road. I'd like to discuss their site plan. Oh, but first I've got to appoint Pastor Bill as a voting member. And to make sure everybody understands that Neil Kirk is here via telephone.
Got it.
Come on, podium, sir.
Perfect. Yeah, we have some plans that we wanted to show you guys too. That would be helpful. So, there you go. Yep, that's the original, so we'll get that one up.
A big plan.
So there's 7 of these. I'll look those to you.
They all
So
same?
these are all copies, so. Is it helpful if I put this one up here?
Yeah, just watch the leg that's not on the ground. I fold over on it.
I wonder if I can get us a new receipt.
That's all right.
I'm gonna put that on my shopping list.
Right. So, thank you for fitting us in. My name's Eric Lantine. I'm the owner. I have my partner, Bill Iannazzi here is also owner, and my twin brother, who's also a partner at the paintball park. So we wanted to come in today. We just had some questions we wanted to ask and kind of show you what we have so far for our, hopefully we're going to try to get on the meeting in December. So we have 4 items I guess we were hoping to chat with. The 2 player
Back up, I
pits.
think you're on the agenda for next week.
For next week? I thought it was December.
I think,
Because, yeah, we didn't get anything in until this week. We didn't get anything in.
oh, you're not, okay, not getting, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Either way, maybe you, at the end of the meeting, maybe you'll tell us that where we are ready. So, we're hoping for some feedback.
Okay,
So, but the player pits we were hoping to talk about, and then also expanded parking. And then we were also hoping to talk to about food concessions and axe throwing, and just looking to get some feedback from you guys.
Catering? What's it, food?
Food pet. Yep. So right now we have a concrete patio there, and we're hoping to. We've already been in the process with the state to get licensed for concessions at the facility, and we're hoping to eventually do some food and then some beer and wine at some point. So we're hoping to chat with you guys a little bit about that as well.
Well, it's nice to see you want to expand the parking.
Yep. Yeah, right up in here on this side.
Approximately what scale is this drawing?
Bill might be able to.
Well, you could scale it, if you look at the parking spaces, and I know they printed out faint, but those are 9 by, those are 9 by 18 regulation parking spaces, so you could take a scale and figure out a scale.
About 1 inch equals 20 feet. How big is this future parking area?
So it would be
The square footage?
15 times 9, so about 100 and, what's the math on that, Bill? 15 times 9. And then the width is
135.
20, so 180 feet by a little less than 150.
Okay.
It's like 25,000,
25,000, 25,000 square feet, okay.
but it gives us a lot of, it gives us plenty of spaces. What do we got, what did I have?
50 parking
Yeah,
spots.
about 50.
Did somebody delineate the wetlands?
Meridian.
Okay, the first thing I'm gonna say is you realize we have a 25-foot non-disturbed buffer around the wetland.
Well, the ones on the left are man-made.
Doesn't matter. The 25-foot non-disturbed buffer from all wetlands.
You're saying on this?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
and this, and that, and, yes, all wetlands. That. This is an awful lot for us to take in a moment's notice, to be blunt. At least in my opinion. What are all these little hatched areas?
So those were our tent tops.
Tent tops.
So we had a tent top area, like we have like literally a metal tent with a tarp for a top that we keep people dry in. So Meridian we started this when we first bought the property, and obviously the engineering is expensive, so we wanted to show you guys what has changed here. And the player pits were these two features here. I know there was some question about us impeding our parking a little bit, so we wanted to show that they actually improved it.
Back up a little bit. Is he on the agenda for next week? Or did you not?
If he's not ready, no. No, this was just giving you a
Okay.
heads up, but I can put it on for December. What else did you need from him?
We wanna do a site walk?
I'd like to do a sidewalk, yes. I've driven by it every morning.
Sure.
Yeah, I know, but
I
you
go
can't,
home the other
you
direction.
can't see much from the
No,
road
you can't see
when you
much
drive by.
from the road.
No.
Do a sidewalk during the week or a Saturday or Sunday?
None of the above are very good for me during deer season. However,
Well, and it gets dark at 4:30.
yes.
Yeah, I know.
We're open on Saturdays and Sundays too, so it'd be pretty inconvenient for us to not have our participants out there, you know?
We'll do it in the morning on your way to
You
work,
have to
Craig?
participate.
Yeah, right? If you want to play, right?
Oh, what the,
It's dark on the way to work, it's dark on the way home. What are you talking about?
Anybody got a lunch break?
I work 45 minutes away.
yeah,
And I eat at my desk. What's your point? How about could we do like 3 o'clock some weekday?
The afternoons would be fine, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Tuesday is no good for me next week.
Would you want to do Thursday before the planning board?
That's fine.
How about you, Neil? Are you listening? Do you
I
have
am. What time on Tuesday?
3?
Thursday, Neil.
Thursday.
Thursday.
Thursday. That's Thursday the 19th.
Yes.
You know that we have a planning board meeting at 7.
Yes.
Okay. 3 p.m.
Yes.
Okay. Works for me.
And
Uh,
all these flags, I mean, these shots of flags are still up where the wetlands are, so I mean, we can tell where we are, they're all numbered, right?
They, maybe, I'm not sure.
They were
I've
done
seen
3 years
these.
ago,
They were done how long ago?
3 years ago when
Oh,
we bought
geez.
the park, so who knows if they're still there.
Probably not.
But there could be some.
They're usually convenient because the soil scientist numbers them. So you look at the numbers on here, you tell exactly where you are.
Yeah, right.
So, I'd just like to say, you know what, we're not really asking for much here, we're just wanted courtesy of what started this was the player pits, which is really nothing more. We used to have picnic tables with just tarps over. And we substituted those with just a frame with a metal top. It's nothing that, it's not a, all it is to keep the rain from falling on the heads of the players. It's kind of like a dugout for baseball, but we call them player pits. So they stand underneath them in case it, from the sun and the rain, and they put their equipment, but there's not even any seating in it. So those were the two things that, I guess someone asked, well, geez, did we have a permit? And we do have a permit, made an application for a permit. And then they said, well, you need a plan for it, which is, I mean, those are movable. We literally can lift those up and move them around like a picnic table. So-
Yeah, I guess we weren't quite sure what made it a structure versus not.
Right, we're wondering why we even have to do a plan.
Well, you're putting 50, this parking was never
Well, I
approved by us.
understand we should probably have the
It-
Tom Carr do a formal plan for the parking for us. This was preliminary.
And the
on the
parking
parking.
that that you're pointing at has been there since the 90s.
That's all existing.
When Tom and Cynthia Cook owned the
Why
property,
why are you showing a tree line here if this parking was existing?
because at one point they let it grow up.
Parking-
We just returned it back to what it was. We had field there and there were little saplings. We went back to, but there were
the-
cars parking there
And
when
the
I was a kid.
exit's existing and has been there from day one. So we have an entry and an exit.
And this was all done when Chip was here too, and obviously I know things have changed a little bit. But
You guys, last time you guys came in,
it wasn't us, by the way, it was the
Okay,
prior
so-
owner, but yes.
prior owner came in, this parking was not being used. And all he came in about was is getting rid of this entrance and putting it over here and tearing the house down. That was the discussion.
Right.
Well, now this parking lot's being used, which, yeah,
If it was not used for over a year,
you cleared the trees and obviously something happened.
Well, there was,
I'm not upset, I'm really not.
right.
But now you're talking about a food patio and the players' pits and 50 feet of parking and a lot of stuff within the 25-foot buffer of the wetlands. You're obviously expanded since the last time everybody was here.
We've definitely cleaned up, and I think what happened is the old plan, I have a copy of it here too, was done in 2008 with the prior owner. And then I think the understanding what was set forth to them was whenever they added something, their obligation was being met by a building permit. And then we continued with that same expectation with Chip. Like when we, for example, we have this paintball feature here, and then this one here, this laser tag feature. We permitted that through Chip. He goes, yeah, here's the permit, you're all set. Nothing was asked for us to add anything to a site plan.
What is it? What is this, what is the laser tag feature? What is that?
It's a little building to hide behind and in, you know. It's like these two, the expectation set by Chip was if they go on or in it, it built the code and we want to see a permit. So those are little 12 by whatever buildings that are out there, you know. Obviously we're
They're
paintball.
obstacles,
Yeah.
you know. They're features.
Okay, yeah.
oh, we'd have a better idea once we take a site walk.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are these lines here? 3 lines parallel, leaving this one player's pit and going to the wetland?
Right from the players pit right there.
Yeah, that right
Looks
there.
like a ditch.
Right here?
There, yeah.
So at the time when he came, there was this little like bump in the dirt there, and he showed that on the map. It's no longer there. It was like literally like a rut in the mud, if you will, you know.
Drainage ditch.
I don't even know if you'd call it a ditch because you could literally drive over it. So I think that's why these little like bumps are out of there. See where he breaks it up.
Okay.
So, and then the question I guess with these was just like, just for our understanding is like, I'm not sure other than the size, what made it a structure versus not. Like it's over 100 square feet is what we were told. But is anything over 100 square feet needs a building permit and then a site plan review? Like, I'm just confused by the expectation, I guess.
He's looking up the scope of review. It is 100 square feet. And it's also the decision by the planning board, not code enforcement. I can't make that decision. It says it right in there. Planning board's the only one that can make that decision.
Bruce can make you make that decision.
I know Bruce can make me
Okay.
make that decision.
Only Bruce.
I didn't. I came to the board and asked you, this is what's going on, does it need a site plan? And you said, yeah, so.
I didn't even. Until it got here, it's got out of control.
Well, it's better than me talking about the printer.
Well, that's true.
Oh, yeah.
But you still did.
This one will go on longer.
Well, it says here, an enlargement of the footprint of a building or development of an accessory structure larger than 100 square feet
Right.
is the reason they've come to the site plan. Modification to a previously approved site plan, which you've done. An expansion of 200 square feet or greater to the parking area or driveway. So there's two reasons that you need a site plan. And if a change of use or expansion involves significant impact in terms of traffic and circulation and parking and lighting, then you're gonna need a site plan, so.
And I understand the
I think-
park, and that's kind of, I guess, why we added some things, because there are some things that in the near future we plan on coming and discussing with you guys anyway, so we wanted to kind of bring it all into one meeting to save both of us time.
As far as what needs a building permit, that is her department.
So my question, like, but because it's, so if I put a 12 by 10 container on the property, would that also qualify? Like, I guess I just don't know where, or if I put up one of these metal tent tops, like what made this a structure?
Well, it isn't a structure, it's the 100 square feet.
Right, so if I get a 10 by 12 container and put it on the
What
property?
necessarily qualifies for a building permit would be different than what that is.
Right,
Just because you need a building permit doesn't mean you need to come to the planning board, or vice versa. You could have to do something like those tent structures that don't need a building permit, but if it's over 100 square feet, you gotta come to the planning board.
so, but like, those are 10 by 14, so do I need to come to the planning board when we put one of those up?
Yes,
Okay. Or if I have a container,
Yes.
put like a 12 by 10 container, we have to come to the planning board?
yes.
Yes.
Okay,
I
Anything
do,
over
I do have
100
written
square
down
feet.
10 by 10 seems very small, want to revisit, but we haven't done that, so.
Yeah.
yeah. It just like, I didn't, like, if it's not permanent, I just, like, if we, like, why would we put it on a site plan if they're movable, right? Like, that's kind of what, I guess, the question I have. What makes it where it's just
If it's
that,
on the site, it's part of the site, it's. part of
even
the
if
site
it's
plan.
temporary
It's
though?
not just where you're, yeah, okay, if you're gonna put it here, then you're gonna put it here, then you're gonna move it over here, next year you're gonna move it over here.
And they're also
It's- it-
seasonal.
It's, yeah, and
You
it's
have to
all part of the
take it
whole,
down.
it's all part of the whole scheme of where's the parking, where's your, we wanna make sure there's no conflict in the parking, the traffic circulation, the pedestrian circulation, the traffic on 149.
Oh, for sure.
All that stuff is what we gotta look at.
You're not
Right.
putting them in the wetlands.
And you all of a sudden
Right.
putting this thing on top, in the wetland, yes. I mean, that's the things we gotta look at.
Right, no, and we just want to be clear, so if like we get a 10 by 12 tent and put it here this year versus there, it's like, we have to come in and do a review because we moved it 4 feet,
No,
right?
you
Like
could,
that's,
what you could do is you could, in my opinion, you could designate an area
Where we have.
400 by 400,
okay,
where you're gonna have tents set up.
okay,
We don't need to say, okay, this tent A goes here, tent B goes here.
okay.
Okay.
Or you're gonna have 3 tents or 4 tents, so they're all in the,
They're all in that area.
Tent
Yeah, and that's fair, and we just want to be on the same page, you know?
Designate that on the plan.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And I know,
It's basically where the picnic tables.
I
Yeah.
think in the plan past, the old site plan, they did something similar with the playable paintball fields. They just said, this is the playable paintball fields, and we're gonna build paintball features there. So I obviously, we weren't part of that meeting, and some of you may or may not have been, I don't know. So it's, we just want to make sure that we're on the same page with
But
you
I
guys
like
as
where you
well.
have these features. I mean, you could designate an area, as long as it meets the wetland setbacks and out of the buffer and everything, you could designate an area, you could put up
more.
more.
Right, sure.
You know, I
Okay.
mean, we're not trying to say every time you put a stick to the ground, we need to see you.
Right, and that's just what we weren't sure about. We're like, what, because I think before some of the stuff was a little more lax, we'd come in and no, see ya, you know, if I don't go in it or on it, I don't need to see you. That was the expectation set forth. So we want to see, you know, what our expectations are too, because we're here to be responsible. And, you know, we're obviously anyone that's driven past the park, they see that we've cleaned it up and we're making a real go at this. You know, I've been playing there for 22 years and live in town myself. You know, we want to give a spot for, you know, kids and families to come play, especially here in town, you know, and employ young kids. You know, we have 30 teenagers essentially that work for us part-time, and we're hoping to employ more with some of these changes, you know.
So I think what you really ought to do is take a good look at this and kind of come up, designate areas as play areas.
Zones and stuff.
You know, kind of zone it out a little bit.
Sure.
And, I mean, you could use the whole area and have different, you know,
Zones, yeah.
zones here and there.
And we some of the paintball stuff we already kind of show, 'cause, like, there's the poles on this, but then they go across, like we just didn't draw a line, so we can show like, hey, this is,
But those, I do want to point out, because you said something concerns me about this buffer. I mean, that artificial field that we have there has been there for how many years, Eric?
2009 maybe.
You need a variance.
But it's been there for, when we bought, I mean, all this stuff's been there for umpteen.
It's on the old site plan too.
I need to find out, I don't know exactly when that, I'll probably find out.
I don't think that buffer was in effect in 2009, was it? It's right
I
around
believe
the
it was,
time.
because Paul Moore was chairman when that happened.
The only things that we've added is literally the stuff in blue. Is that this is the stuff that other than that, we've just been cleaning up and painting a whole lot, because, you know, obviously it needed a little love, so we've given it.
Needed a lot of love.
And if you could find some documentation about that artificial turf area and when that was installed.
It's on the site plan. It's on the old site plan in 2008.
Okay.
This field was. It's all on the site plan from 2008. This is the copy, so feel free. This is the same one in the file. Obviously, we've had a lot of history there. We've been there for
Problem is, I don't
32
see any
years.
wetlands on that plan.
No, there's no wetland shown here at all.
Well, I think our plan is the first time anybody spent any money to do a real plan. So our plan is based off of what Meridian did for us 3 years ago, and we just, you know, started adding the features. I do have a question about the parking, what we need to do so that you can approve, so that we can clean up that, we need to expand more parking. Because since the boys have cleaned up the park, we've got more visitors coming through there.
COVID's also really changed it. Like, we actually haven't been as busy this year as we have in past years. But with COVID, people will no longer carpool. So we've really seen the increase in the amount of traffic because of that. I mean, even I noticed it when we went to vote at the middle school. Like, some of the volunteers were like, I've never seen this many cars. I'm like, I know exactly how you feel. I talked to Naomi on the way, and I was like, yeah, I know exactly how you feel here. This is what I deal with, you know?
Anyway, so back to my question, how much, what do you need for a plan from us so that we can,
How about if we give you a better idea next Thursday?
okay, well, for the parking, we just wanna know what we need to do so we can actually clean up that area to expand the parking.
Give you a better idea on Thursday. I mean, I don't know if you're gonna need a
Was there a
road,
regulation?
I don't know if you're gonna need sedimentation and erosion control. I don't know what the soils are like. I don't know what the vegetation's like. I don't know any of those things are sitting here right now.
Should we have, Mr. Carr prepare a plan?
Or meet us.
What's normally required?
Well, you're
if
going,
somebody's expanding parking.
this big of an expansion, I think we're gonna have to look at the erosion control plan, the whole site, to be on, at least this side and along this wetland.
That's to the,
Oh, we can put erosion control measures
West of
in,
the
well, when
wetland.
we're flattening it out. I mean, it's pretty flat now, we just gotta clean it up a little more. So are you saying you would like a plan showing the erosion control measures that would be in place during the construction?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, we can have Meridian do that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we're not gonna get that done in a week, so.
No, I'm not
Yeah,
expecting a
we
plan.
should
I
probably,
would-
I'm saying the plan, Tom's not gonna be able to do that in a week for us, so.
Oh, no, I
Because
wouldn't
he's so
expect it.
busy, but, maybe we should defer to him and just say, Tom, do whatever plan the planning board normally
Well, it
requires.
sounds like you're gonna be meeting with us in December.
I think it's the 18th and the 19th, if I can recall. Is it?
19th, I think.
Yeah.
So after next week, we meet, do a site walk, I mean, you'll have a month between when we meet then to,
17th.
If it's not us, it's his,
Yeah,
It's
they've been
Meridian's
crazy because
schedule.
of building.
yeah, whether he can produce what you need in time, we'll certainly ask him.
17th.
let them know that you got something coming in down the pike.
No, he knows, I mean, he knows, he knows, he's been out there, but we'll tell him we need a formal plan with erosion control measures during our construction.
And I just don't know if I have a group on Thursday or customers there. Obviously, I'm just trying not to be disruptive to my business, so I don't know if I can verify that before I say that's okay. I think it is. I just want to make sure that we don't have people playing paintball, and we can't have people walking around when they're playing. We don't want to,
No, I understand that.
yeah. I don't believe we do, but I just want to verify that we're open, and if we are, I can block it out so that we don't get any.
Can you get back to me by Monday on that?
Yeah, I definitely can get back to you by Monday.
Could we also talk about our catering trailer that's on order? What do you need from us? We're already in process with the state. We show next to our
At this little
food pad,
box right
yes, sir. We have a. did you-
I do have plans. I
We
could
have
show you what the
So
trailer
the-
looks like as well.
We've been working with the state on their guidelines about what they require for, so we ordered, had a custom built kitchen, catering kitchen made. And so we need to know what all we need from you, once the state gives us.
So you're gonna have, basically it's a mini restaurant for your customers, right?
Yeah, we're basically looking to do a concessions, or it's going to technically be a private catering event for customers that are there. So when businesses or we have family trips, we can provide them food. At some point, we're looking to add beer and wine there as well. But yes, it's like a mini mobile trailer. So it's essentially the same equipment you'd find in a commercial kitchen. Yes. Ansel system, it has Sapphire, all that stuff.
Well, the first question I'm gonna have is this is gonna be seating in the,
Yeah, we're looking at, basically, that's a concrete pad, and we're looking to fence around that. And we would delineate that as the, quote-unquote, the private area, where there would be the beer garden, if you will. And then customers could also order and take it back to their picnic table and sit and eat and play.
Not the beer and wine, but.
Yeah, that's why we're delineating the areas. Beer and wine is
Right. If you're-
afterwards, or for mom and dad while they're waiting.
my first question is gonna be septic. Leach field, where,
We have porta potties there.
No, for
well,
this,
for this,
Oh, it has a gray water container, and it'll get pumped out. So-
yeah, but the state's gonna tell you, if this operates more than 20 times a year, you're gonna have to be hooked up to a septic system.
I don't know if that's true. We've started down that route with them. They actually, because it's a mobile unit, they don't want it connected to power. They don't want it connected to a septic system permanently.
Nothing permanent.
Yeah.
Are you planning on moving it?
No.
If you're not planning on moving it, why are you getting something on wheels?
It's just,
Just a
we
curiosity.
operate out of an 80 by 40 barn. It's built in the 1700s. To make that safe to serve food out of, we felt would be extremely difficult. This was the easiest way for us to do it,
Really?
in our
Okay.
opinion.
Okay.
And it gives us the ability to relocate it as, in years to come, if things change up there as we continue to make improvements.
That I understand, okay.
Yeah. But we didn't want to make, because the barn's so old, we didn't want to make a big investment inside there in case, we don't know what we're going to do with the barn. We think the barn's going to be there for 100 years. We have some long.
I would just think it'd be easier to build a little kitchen on top of the concrete patio. But you don't know where you want to, like you said, you might want to move it here, might want to move
Right.
it there.
Yeah.
That completely makes sense.
As we expand and improve, we felt that, geez, maybe it doesn't work so well there. Maybe we should move it
Yep,
100 feet down to the left side of the
Yep.
parking lot. We just don't, we wanted to remain flexible. And this was the most sanitary way for us to control it, to have it built by professionals, that this is all they do. We're having it custom built in Florida. And these guys build them for all over the country, and it's actually gonna be on site in a month.
Gives its own space too. It kind of separates it from paintball operations to this is the food
Cleaner,
operation.
more sanitary situation where it's contained in that one mobile building.
so the water's coming from the well that's here?
Potentially, it has its own tank. It won't be permanently hooked up to anything. It has its own water tank and filtration system. So, like, the idea is that you could put water in from a well into that, and then go off site. That's the way it's been designed. So most likely we would be trying to access water from there. But
Not permanently.
yeah.
And the grill, and the range hood area would be facing 149, or the other way around?
Yes, well, you mean the back.
Yeah, it'd be facing the street side. Yes, the other side has the catering window.
Right.
The serving shell's gonna be on your patio, right?
Inside towards the patio, correct, yep.
My main concerns with this are water and septic. But we'd have to talk to the state, see if that's even a concern.
So in that, I know that through the licensing process with them, they also ask us about that. One of the reasons, it's with a trailer like that with a mobile unit, there is no requirement for septic on where you're serving. Same with the water. There's no requirement for a well or anything like that, just for the application we're going for, which is a mobile food unit.
Well, I'll check with DES.
I mean, it's zone commercial, so it's allowed use,
Yeah, no, that's no problem.
yeah, that's not an
But
issue.
the state health licensing has different categories that you need to apply
I know,
for,
but
so.
Yeah, but
Everything I knew though, if it was more than 20 days,
Mm-hmm.
you're not exempt anymore,
Right, you're not mobile.
right? And it can be 20 days, I'm pretty familiar with it because I was in an organization that has a mobile kitchen. And you can't operate it more than 20 days a year. Otherwise, you need to have all kinds of totally different type of permit.
Anything else?
Anything else, Bill, that you can think of?
No, I think, the parking, we're gonna
Mhm.
get guidance from Meridian and have them present the plan that he would normally do for parking. And then we're gonna continue with the state, and when we're done with the state, I guess, but we would ask if there's any particular application we need on this trailer, to just tell us what application we should be filling out so that we can start the process with the town also.
That would be with,
Okay. Do you want these back?
No, those are yours.
Yeah.
We need them back.
No, we have one. So that one, yeah, I know you guys have that in your file. Thanks, Bill.
Mike's. Snow, S-N-O-W.
Michael Lantine.
Back to what?
yeah,
Jack Meany is on his way.
Really? Imagine that.
still there, Neil?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Do you have these ones? We don't need, we got two, that's fine.
Oh, thank you.
And you will let us know Monday, by Monday, if we can declare general. And now we'll move to the first item on the agenda.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Mr. Jack Dearborn with the CIP discussion.
I'm just gonna crack that window open. It's warm in here. At least it is for me.
Thank you, it is warm.
This thing doesn't really work, does it? 76 in here. Is that a fake thermometer? Alrighty. Good evening. My name is Jack Dearborn. I'm the chairman of the Capital Improvement Program Plan for the Town of Ware. This is a 2021 plan, and you'll see on page 2 there's some committee members which I'd like to thank, and that's myself, Stu Richmond, Vice Chair Steve Roberts, Gary Shelto, John Osborne, ex officio, and Bruce Fillmore. And also I'd like to thank Naomi Bolton, Beth Roos, and Kelly Luce Dearborn, Kelly Dearborn Luce, for the support that they gave us through the year. This third page is just a category of priorities. These really, the lower ones, 3 and below, really come into play for the future years. We're really interested in 1 and 2 this year, and 1 and 2 is the difference between health and safety and within a year. Page 4 and 5 is required a 6-year look ahead. This is under RSA, New Hampshire RSA 674-5 through 8. And it defines that the town shall put together a 6-year plan, and this is a 6-year plan, so we ask the departments to tell us what they have in their crystal ball going out for 6 years, and some departments actually put it out there, like Benji, further than that. You'll see it later on. And this is sort of a spreadsheet. I know it's an eye chart, but it's got all the requirements for most of the equipment in the town of Ware. And it basically talks about, at the bottom, grand total, CIP request, debt service combined. You'll see in the out years, we do have some peaks coming in when we have an expensive item in the form of a ambulance and an In 2025, we have a $500,000 expense for a new engine for the fire department. Page 6 and 7 is what we call a whiteboard, if you will. This is sort of like a bird's eye view of all the requests from the department. The request type by department, priority request dollar-wise, how we're going to request it to be paid, impact to taxes. If there's an offsetting capital reserve, we would show that. In the case of the fire department, it's not. It comes out of the revolving equipment. Then we have an urgent requirement. Each one of these be taken individually. For instance, like the fire department, the next one we have here is the first lineup for the fire department and the only one for this year. Apparatus repair. Engine 2 has a fire pump which has some issues. They're not immediately urgent, but it could be a catastrophic failure. So the chief is requesting a $20,000 coming out of the revolving fund, I should say the special revenue fund, which is where the monies from the ambulance go in less any monies for fee processing. So this is the $20,000 basically for seals and other components rebuild. Any questions on that? Next one is the police department. This year, they're requesting for $61,000 a Tahoe, and there's some, and it's basically a 7-cent impacts to the tax rate is urgent. I don't know the exact status of all the vehicles right now, but I knew when we had our CIP back in October. The blue car, number 8, is the chief's car or the non-police interceptor vehicle, Taurus. That one had like a $4,000 or $5,000 repair bill, and they were holding off on it. And I don't know if they made a decision on that. I know that the ACO car, animal control officer, went to the junkyard or auction. I can't tell which one it went to. And there's another vehicle that's in dire straits like 08. So basically, we've gone from 11 cars to a high, and we're down to basically 7 vehicles now, maybe even 6 vehicles, depending on the status. And what they're requesting is to add to the fleet 1 unit and basically move one of the frontline interceptors, which there's 5, down to a support level. And so what they're requesting is the Tahoe, and you'll see the following pages on 10, 11, you'll see the attributes. And the biggest issue of this is storage of chattel, the equipment that is needed in a vehicle for making calls. The back of a sedan is pretty limited for the storage once you get all the radios and such in there. And this allows them to carry stuff and not have to send back for various things depending on type of an accident or type of a call. And it also has a ground clearance, a lot better ground clearance, which, considering the fact we've got a huge amount of dirt roads, even though they're class 5 in the wintertime, 4-wheel drive is nice, but including all the back area of Clough State Park and a lot of class 6 roads and private roads in town, it's pretty tough. So this is being requested to upgrade their fleet. And then the page 12 is basically a 5-year look ahead on rotating. This is the hypothetical rotation in the future. They're asking, if you look back at the 6-year plan, 1 car replace a year. And in the past, we've discussed basically, notwithstanding the ACO vehicle, 7 vehicles for the department, 5 frontline police interceptors, and 2, I will call them utility/administrative vehicles. And this will allow us to do a rotation throughout the every 7 years, so we minimize our downtime for vehicles not fit for service. We would minimize the amount of time it takes for sworn officers to go to and from repair shops and such like that. Any questions on the police? Moving on to page 12. Public Works, this is for Benji, and basically 4 items. And this year, again, because we have a need of, regarding the number of plow routes we have and the length of time for return on the plowing once it starts snowing and sleeting. The intent is to make a revisit, and in order to do that, it takes 11 vehicles on 11 routes that everybody who has a CDL license, including the mechanics, get a plow route. So basically, this is replacing another one of the aged vehicles. I think it's T5. It's just another one that's well past its worn life. And again, we pay a lot of money for operating budget labor, and we also have highly trained people with CDL licenses, and yet we put them in vehicles which don't allow us to fully utilize their time behind the wheel. A lot of times in the past, when we had a lot of downtime, extended snow clearing and/or people who are getting paid to be a CDL big rig driver are basically sitting around waiting for the vehicle to be repaired. So again, this is part of the plan, replacing one of the trucks per year. We were 6 years back in the early 2010s where we took a hiatus for 6 years on big vehicles, and we're paying for it now. So basically, we're in a catch-up mode at this point. In the past, we spent as much as $120,000 just for parts, not vehicles, just for parts for these big vehicles. So it's not only a cost, somebody's got to actually turn the wrench to put them in there, and when that happens, the vehicle's down for use. And an operator isn't necessarily doing is what he's paid for doing. Second one is a trash trailer. We only have 2, and basically, one is being filled, the other one's being transported, dumped, and brought back. And that's done a couple times a week, as much as a couple times a week. And right now, if you look at the nature of this vehicle, you can see it on the second page, maybe page 14.
16.
So I missed 14, 15, I wonder what happened. I guess we skipped pages 16. It's basically, it's filled in from the back, and it's pushed in by the packer at the dump. And when they get to the transfer site, it's basically a ram in the front, and this whole wall it dislodges all the contents. Over time, especially with just mild steel, it's prone to rusting, fatiguing over time, and right now it's beginning to rust, and the real question is someday that ram's going to go forwards and maybe the side will blow out. So it's a hazard as much as anything else, so it's timely, and Benji's requesting. And this is a stainless steel one, I believe, and it should be better for many years to come. You can see the back of the current one here is rusting. So that's $115,000, and that's a request this year. We have another one here, bridge improvement. Over the last, I think it's 4 years ago, actually 5 years ago, we started down a path where we have 3 bridges on the town of state of New Hampshire Red Bridge program. One is on River Road, and the estimate to replace that back some 5 years ago, estimated by the state who does the engineering, $1.5 million. And if we follow their design, they will require us to pay 20%, and the state will pick up, when they have money, 80%. And there's 2 others, and they're actually culverts, but they'll probably end up going in as open bottom concrete bridges, which are placed in precast. And those are $295,000 each, estimated by the state. So the total estimate for these 3, quote, bridges was $2.1 million in 2016, 2015 timeframe, which our 20% is $420. For the last 4 years, we asked for $105,000 a year. So we would have the money sort of in the bank and the capital reserve. So when the state says who comes to the front of the line, it's the people that have the money. Well, unfortunately, things don't exactly, and, oh, by the way, I think in 2017, we actually had to do an emergency patch on River Road where the actual girders were so decayed even after 17 years of use that you could literally put a hammer through the web on the big I-beams underneath it. So there was an emergency patch made. The selectmen funded that. If not, the bridge would have to be, it was derated for a while, but if it gets worse and we didn't patch it, they would have to shut it down. And so the reason we're requesting today bridge improvement money is because they're pushing us out to 2024 through 2026, and that's basically almost 10 years from the time they gave us the original quote. And that quote doesn't necessarily include any EPA impacts that may have happened. The big concern there is if they can't reuse the concrete abutments because of the specifications for river flow may have changed, where they have to redirect the river slightly. The bridge abutments may have to be moved. So there could be additional cost. Plus, it is possible that we could have to do another Band-Aid on that bridge. So what Benji's requesting is, as a hedge on inflation, and also in case of an emergency fix, he's requesting to have $25,000 put into the capital reserve for bridge. It'll be only used for that bridge, those 3 bridges in the future. That's as simple as it is. Road reconstruction,
So backing up,
but
you say we need roughly, what was it, total 1.5?
you know, speak up.
Total for the bridges, for all 3?
All 3 was 2.1.
2.1, okay.
20% is 420. We took 105 out for 4 years, that's 420.
Yep.
So we're asking to add to the 420, there's some interest in there, but add to that next $25,000.
Okay.
That's really the logic.
And really, right now, we have the 420, but the 25
We have a
is
little
for-
more than 420. I
Right.
think if we went back and looked here,
This says 421, 919, or
Right.
something like that.
it's a little bit more in our capital reserves.
But the 25 grand is gonna help for escalation and
Escalation of possible need.
widening the bridge, do with abutments, Band-Aids, et cetera. Okay.
Well, the bridge abutments may actually be a bigger cost.
Oh, yeah.
Because, and that was assuming we could use it, and this was in the, not trying to get political, but there was a big push on EPA issues, and now there's been relaxed some over the last administration, so nobody knows exactly where we are. But it was never anticipated to cover any significant alterations of the abutments, so. There is a risk down the years, but the biggest thing for is, anybody's got the money, when the state says we finally have money, you go to the head of the you go up to the beginning of the line. And if you don't have enough money, they say, see you in 5 years or whatever. Come back and get in line when you go.
But technically, we have enough money.
We have enough money based on
Barely.
the 2015.
Right.
We would probably know, because we would probably do the, I suspect we would probably do one of the, well, assuming no emergency showed up, we would probably do one of those smaller, like Peacock Brook up on Lull and, what's the other?
Oh, Francistown.
Francistown,
Yeah.
right? And we'd probably do one of those first, and we would then understand if there's any impact to requirements. So this is just a hedge in case we have an emergency fix, which is every year the state comes in and they take their 3-pound hammer out and whack it. If they don't like the sound, they get their bigger hammer and hit it again, and they say, gee, you gotta go make these fixes, so you're gonna shut your major artery down on River Road.
Yeah, you said that, yes. That would not be a good thing. Okay. Thank you.
So, next one is River Road, road reconstruction. And the last 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, I kind of forget, we asked for a fairly substantial $2.5 million bond for doing a lot of the, what we would call the yellow roads, meaning roads that we could do some surfacing or do some culvert repair and surfacing and/or chip coating to extend the current life that they have. The red roads, we would do in the road reconstruction in the current year. Because, so this money here is to do the summer roads project, but it's kind of a catch-all. It also buys all the guardrails. It also is used to buy the calcium chloride. It's also used for dirt roads, and it's also used for doing the crushing for winter and summer roads, sand and gravel. So this is kind of a catch-all, but it's basically the money that they would spend during the summer. That's not on an operating nature of salaries and benefits for his folks. So this is basically to buy material. And we bumped it up from last year of 500 to 525. We're just at 500,000. We're falling behind less than we were at 480. So we're basically trying to keep up and get the amount of red roads done such that we can keep up on a schedule. So we've asked, Benji has asked for an extra $25,000 on top of the 500. That'll be done directly to benefit the substandard roads we currently have in town. So that's basically what the Public Works is all about. And you'll see truck 5 is, I don't know who the gentleman there is, but he seems to be happy. That's slated for replacement. It's the Volvo. The Volvos have been a real problem, and it's known across the industry. It has something to do with the engines, but it has primarily to do with the engine control units. Not reliable. And even Volvo says, take us someplace else if you will, because we really can't fix these either. So a lot of times they can never fix it completely. They can make it run. All the lights are still on. And so Benji's been prioritizing the Volvos, which they've had problems with over the years. There's a schedule of all the equipment that DPW has, whether it's hours or miles, and which particular vehicle this year is T5. And back here, you'll see, this is sort of other equipment, which is a bulldozer stuff that's not a vehicle that goes over the road. And below, you'll see sort of a notional replacement between now and 2033. These will change depending on which truck is in worse shape for the current year or what equipment may be moved around. But the intent is we've got a plan going forwards. And this is his fleet rotation here. And this is consistent with what we've done in the past years. And then there's transfer equipment. And here the Packer, the 2001 Packer with the 2 asterisks there, is being requested to be replaced. I guess the life expectancy is 10 to 15 years, and this is 21, or going to be over 21. Any questions on DPW? If not, there's a request here for the library. Library AC units. These things have been around for a while. This is much to replace failing units as well as to save money on having the latest and greatest efficiency. Over the last 5-10 years, it's come a long ways in terms of the temperature at which they can operate, and also the SEER rating, or the ability to work efficiently. And so this is basically the money to replace the units over at the library. Pretty straightforward. And the last one, this year, there's been a lot of discussion on the CIP in terms of how to improve the RF communications and radio system. In the CIP, we requested that the Board of Selectmen take this on, and the reason is because it's a multi-department asset. The principal users for life and safety is the fire department and police department. Benji also uses it in a a different way where he doesn't have the repeaters around town. He just basically has the Mine Hill, which is now on top of the public Granite State Telephone. So basically, I kind of go through this, and not many people, most people know what a truck does, stuff like that. Not everybody has a good background for radios and such like that. So I added a little detail here. Basically, the town of Ware needs a reliable and well-connected radio frequency communication system. Current capability, town of Ware has equipped the fire department, PDW, with vehicles, buildings, highly trained personnel, and RF communication system in order to meet the town's need for life and safety. The issue is, out of all these assets the town has and the high dollar value we spend each year, it's better than $4 million for the operating budgets for these three departments. We have a somewhat lacking RF capability, communications. And the mitigation here would be the town Board of Selectmen is requesting a radio frequency communication propagation analysis for the town of Ware's existing RF communication system to identify any implementable and cost-effective solutions. Meaning that the next page kind of gets into this a little bit on the history. I mean, back in the beginning, in the 60s that I remember, the fire department basically, somehow they got some land up on Mine Hill, which if you look out this window right here, where if I look right through over Bruce's head, you'll see, when the leaves are off, you would see the old tower. Today, and now you'll see the cell tower Granite State Telephone has. So basically, it used to just be a single base station and radios and vehicles. And these are all tubes. And if you got it, you got it. If you didn't, you didn't. And it was basically a step above no communications. And that was going on quite a while. Then in the early 1990s, late 1990s and 2000, grants were obtained for a start of a repeater system, which means that you still have the base station up on Mine Hill, which is the principal transmit station. There's also what's called a voter controller up there. So in other words, you got these placed around the town. These now we have 10 voter repeaters, and basically they help extend the range, or the problem with VHF, a very high frequency, it's around 160 megahertz. It does well, but it's a line of sight, and unfortunately for the architecture we have is the return from the repeater to the Mine Hill is UHF, and that's somewhat susceptible to foliage and degradation. It's just a higher frequency. It makes it more susceptible to the atmosphere. You can't go as far, and if you have any particular vegetation in the way, it just degrades the signal. So basically, I think there were 7 initial voters that were voter repeaters around town. And these weren't selected for the best place for the optimal transmission and receiving capability. They were done more of as a convenience because they needed to have some property where the town owned. And of course, you had Chase Park, the 2 South Ware and East Ware fire stations. And then you had these other locations around town, which were basically cisterns, which the town owned. They're not necessarily the best spots, any of those, but they were available. And initially they were solar powered, battery powered. So in order to make the battery last for any period of time, they cut the power back to a quarter. So not only was it necessarily in the best location, but it didn't really have the full power. Federal government, FCC gives you a license for 100 watts. They had 25. So what we did in the 2000s, I think it's like 2013 and maybe 2015, a couple things happened. We took the 3 antennas, which were separate antennas for fire department, police department, and DPW. We put them on top. We got permission from Granite State Telephone. We put them at the very top of their microwave tower, which is really a cell tower. It's probably one of the more optimum placed within the town of Ware, the location for height. I'll go into that in a bit. Excuse me. We also have the ability of it's AC powered with emergency power backup. So at least the base station will be operating if the power goes down. And then we went along and we took and AC powered all these remote sites, these remote motor repeaters. So we basically went up to the 100 watts. It didn't do anything for the physical location of them. I just want to call out down the bottom here on page 25. You see the red triangles? Red triangles are the existing cell towers in the town of Ware. Oddly enough, that's somewhere around the 77 and 114. Okay, 77 going out east Ware and coming down here, kind of like an arc to the lower right-hand corner. The green dots are the motor repeater sites. Now, one of the ways, so what we're requesting here is that we get a third party, a company that actually does RF propagation studies. That's their full-time business. I don't have anything bad about R&R. That's the current vendor we use. I think they do great at installing stuff that you want done and repairing stuff. I'm not slighting them at all. But sometimes it's good to go out for a company that will actually do this for a living. And it's not that there's any magic pixie dust involved, but it depends. Well, we get a little further here. I'll talk about the study. This map on page 27 and this discussion, this actually map was courtesy of Craig. You gave me the topograph years ago.
Okay.
This is just an excerpt of it. This is basically a little piece to the west and round center. You could see here Mount Wallingford. Mine Hill is where the repeater, the base station is, which is to the left-hand side. You see that? And then you go Mount Wallingford, which is sort of sitting in front of it. And then you go Mount Williams is in front of that. So the problem with this transmit of a VHF signal is it's line of sight. What it means is, if it's sort of like if you turn all the lights off in this room and just put a single light bulb in this room with no shade on it, you would have shadowing in here behind all the people and behind all the chairs and desks. That's exactly what happens with a VHF signal. There is some distraction around the edges, which allows some of the energy to bend a little bit, but it's not anywhere as near as the principal signal or the brightness of a regular light. So basically here, what happens is, this is a LiDAR map topography, and basically what happens is, people, I guess, used to run around with transits, surveying, and try to figure this thing out by running up and down the hills. Today what they do is they have GPS, they have an aircraft or helicopter flying, and they know exactly where the helicopter is in three-dimensional space, how high it is, where it is on the Earth. They have a laser that points down, and they know by virtue of how long it takes for the laser to bounce back, how far it is down to the Earth. So they can plot this map very, very accurately. And not only that, but with the current computers they have, they can, let's get on to that next page. But anyways, it generates a map, and what you do is you basically run this coordinates on this topography map into a database where you create a digital map, which you could then interrogate with this Longley-Rice algorithm. And it's here, next page. And basically what it does is, since 1960s, people got tired of just, let's stick an antenna up here for radio systems, television stations, which are in the UHF, VHF range. And basically, two people were out in Colorado. Their names were Longley and Rice. And they came up with a set of algorithms that you can implement first by human computers, which means slide rules, later rudimentary computers, and today with a high-performance computing we have, you could actually interrogate it. So rather than having to instrument the entire land and running around with an antenna, you could literally put that topography map and create it into a digital X, Y, and Z map, meaning the ground, and the Z component, meaning vertical, the altitude. And you could actually simulate the amount of energy that gets shaded or transmitted across the town. So what this does is it allows you to say, if I'm up on Mine Hill, how well can I communicate? And if you see there's some shadows, that's where you would optimally place your receivers, your voter repeaters. So this is done today, at my work. I worked 37 years in military communications at BAE Systems, and we did this stuff, and we had 4 or 5 very dedicated scientists doing this stuff. And when I was there 20-some odd years ago, it was a laborious, it took forever for a computer to do it. Today, it's more manageable with higher performance computing. But basically what it is it allows you to identify areas of good coverage, marginal coverage, poor to no coverage, and improve on that by identifying locations where you want to place those. And this last slide is sort of like it's the only one I could find that was any good. This is actually a television station in San Francisco. And what you do is for every dB, microvolt per meter, and that's a density of power. That's kind of what the energy looks like when you put it out there. It says greater than 80 microvolts, 60, 50, 8, 40. As it goes down, there's less probability of you picking it up. So the red color is the best, is above the requirement to getting good communications, or good TV reception, if you will, or radio. As you go down to the yellow, you'll see the yellow with some green in it. That's probably a little valley where the green is. And when you see it getting out further, it's just the blue. That's where you really start having problems. So part of the problem with the town of Ware is if this was flat like Kansas, we wouldn't have this problem. What we have is most every road in this town is named Hill, some name with a hill in it. And that's because that's the nature. Now, I'm not casting any rocks at anybody from past efforts. For the little bit of money that we had for either grants or the town raised, I think we got the best system we could. So what I'm suggesting is we go off and evaluate the performance of our current locations. And it makes sense to move some of these locations to a more optimum spot for better coverage. So it's sort of like if you're going to go in for an operation, and if you don't believe in x-rays, well, I guess you're going to go in there and poke around and see what you got. So if you get an x-ray, you might have a good idea what you're going to be doing. So I'm not looking for a total change of the whole system. It may require an additional site. We don't know that. We may require one less if we move them around a little bit. So that's the request, and we requested that the selectmen take that on because it services more than one department.
So how does the company, whatever they're called, they also have Longley Rice, they also have something in this model that shows what properties are owned by the town, so you know that you aren't sticking a tower in my house?
Wait a minute.
You're gonna do
You could
it,
overlay the tax map on it, that's what you're asking.
are they gonna do that?
Sure, anybody can do that. If you got a digital map, yeah. Ultimately, you ultimately want to do that. I mean, it's just a map.
Well, I mean, if they come up with a map saying you need 10 sites here, but they're all privately owned, what good was the 25 grand they spent?
Well, there are some very,
Obviously, you can go knock on the 10 doors and say, hey,
well, that has happened. Because Bill Tiffany is one of the people in town who has been very,
I know, I saw it on the map.
accommodating.
I saw it on the map.
And maybe some other people would too. But there's always on the side of every road, one side's usually got power, the other side has no power, but we own a certain piece of the road. Okay, all you gotta do is put up a pole. So it isn't that, or you could actually, depending on what public service position is, you may use the top of their pole. So first thing is, what's the requirement? And then figure out how do you solve it. It may be too hard. We may not even have power where the most optimum spot is, like on the top of Mount Williams, but maybe an alternate site. So the real question here is, there was an issue on Buckley Road. I would say there wasn't exactly, I would say it was limited communications. And some reasons for that, but most of it is that a real top-down view has never been really taken in earnest. And it's not only just a VHF transmit going down, but it's the return path of the UHF coming back. And that's even more sensitive to terrain.
Are these people only looking at the terrain, or are they looking at all the other factors involved also? Or
Well,
don't you know?
do foliage, terrain foliage.
Well, yeah.
You also do,
I mean, foliage, it could be a field today and could be
exactly,
60-foot high trees.
exactly.
in a while.
They model that
But then,
based on the
you're talking about the
species.
lack of power, you're talking about private ownership, you're talking about other things that,
Well, they'll say, here are the locations you should consider putting it. Then the question is, can you actually go cook the deal with somebody, or is there a location that the town owns approximately in that area we take advantage of?
what if the answer to all those questions is no?
Pardon?
What if the answer to all those questions is no, you can't put one there, there's no power, the town doesn't own any land?
Maybe you put two elsewhere.
Are they gonna give us the answer to that?
Part of the other study, and I did some of it when I was still working for the state full-time. I did that the last couple of years with the new radio systems that they put in. Some of it was as simple as raising the tower another
Right.
50 to 80 feet
Right.
from where it is to get the coverage. Some of it's not just that, some of it's, they're not high enough maybe to get the receive
I understand, yeah.
that. So that's what the study's gonna do, and the study was, like I said, I know with the state, it was labor intensive. I went out and did it with one of the communications people, a couple of the communications people, and a lot of it was based on new sites. Some of them were on the top of ski areas. Some of them were state-owned, some of them were private, and they made agreements with them. Some of them were cell towers that we made agreements with, or they were our towers that we made agreements with cell companies and paid for it. So, I mean, there's ways to do it, but I mean, what it ended up being is a lot of it was a few new sites and the raising of the towers that were there before to a greater height.
See, the cell tower frequencies are the same as the UHF, thereabouts. Same properties of transmission. Now, where they locate a cell tower, I mean, that's probably $2 million. Just to get it built, say nothing about paying the landowner every year and all this kind of stuff. They put a lot of energy into this. And as technology changes, they have to keep shifting their locations. So this is the practice that's done in industry all the time and getting better as time goes by. And it would be ideal if we can get on the top of all these cell towers, but apparently when we currently have in the zoning ordinance, when you get a new cell tower, we reserve our own municipal equipment on it. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened when we were getting the big thrust of cell towers through the late 90s and through the 2000s. So, I mean, the beauty of a cell tower is it's got emergency backup power. And it's, you have to give you the real estate on the top because they don't really use the top. They use the sides because they have 120-degree elements on the sides. So, well, we haven't been, even Naomi's one down in South Ware, she's been trying to get that and apparently have not borne any fruit. So the question is, you do the analysis and you can decide how much money you want to spend for upgrading the system. I mean, here again, we basically fund $4 million operating budget for these three departments. And we probably have $5 to $7 million worth of capital assets that these departments use. Probably even 10 million if you consider the buildings. And yet we don't have a good communications for these guys to take advantage of it, especially with life and safety. So, that's all we got. You want to look at the back page? This is everything. This is sort of like looking back 4 years and looking forward, well, out to 2029, if you group 2027. It's basically what are our bonds for long-term debt and when do they finally get done? The garage bond is done in 2027, I believe it is. And then I believe the road preservation is done in 2029. So these are the costs we've already incurred for the town of Ware each year. We've basically signed up on a contract. Short term, we have exhausted the grader and the ambulance lease. I mean, the purpose of these short terms is you can basically smooth it over 3 years. Then we get down below here, in your capital request, we have complete accuracy of exactly what we got from 2017 through 2020. Those are actuals, not requests. And then in 2021, if we pass everything, it's $1,034,000. In 2020 was $1,027,000, and we were higher at $1,385,000. And then down below here is the debt plus capital request. This is the total. Offsetting revenues in the form of the that $525,000 for road reconstruction. That's offset by a block grant from the state roads of almost $276,000. So these offset, and then right down here, what we would pay for by taxes. In 2021, if we got everything, is $1,201,000. Last year was for actuals was $1,222,000. And then the out years, because we just list, this is only listing what the payments are for us, because we don't know anything else. So as time goes by, we'll fill this in. So basically, every dollar we raise, basically every $893,000 we spend, it's a $1 impact to the tax rate. So for us in 2021, it's $1.35. In 2020, for we actually pass, is $1.39. So now, some of the reasons why this is where it is, because we incurred these garages and the road preservation bond.
We need to take a vote to
Recommend or not recommend?
pass this on to the selectmen.
Yes. We recommend or we just, yeah, we recommend. 'Cause it is a subcommittee of the planning board.
Right. So I think we have to take a vote to forward to the selectmen, right?
Yes. To recommend it to the selectmen.
I make a motion that we,
Woo, how about some discussion?
oh, yes, good idea, Neil. Sorry about that.
I've got a question for Jack.
Go ahead.
Jack, what is the total amount to be raised by taxes under your proposal versus the amount that we raised by taxes last year for capital budget items?
Okay, this is everything including the long-term and short-term debt, less offsetting revenues. 2021, we're asking for $1,285,000 and $1,140. Last year we raised $1,222,382. So we're basically down by 220,000.
No, 20,000.
$20,000, sorry.
21,000, yeah.
Down this year.
Wait, I'm sorry, I must have misunderstood the numbers. Are we raising more this
No,
for 2021 than we
No.
raised for 2020?
$20,000 less,
Less.
less.
5 cents.
Okay, the first number was 1,401,000.
No,
I thought that was
1
for
million.
2021. Is that for 2020?
2020 is 1,222, comma, 382,
392.
392, yeah.
I can scan this over to him tomorrow.
I was gonna take
And
a
how
picture
much
of
is it
that
for 2020?
1,000,000,
For 2021?
1,201,140.
So it's approximately the same, just 20,000 less.
Well, my checking
Yes.
account, I recognize 20,000 missing, so.
Yeah, okay. My question is this. We have gone through COVID-19 in 2020, and a lot of people in town lost jobs and don't have a lot of income.
Neil, how many of
understand
those people?
You know, that some of these capital needs are important.
Neil,
Do you have any sense of priorities if further reductions are necessary so that the tax rate goes down next year to accommodate the people who have suffered financially as a result of COVID?
my answer is, these are the priorities on the department, period. Okay? And I would say to you, as an alternative versus cutting it across it, I would think it'd be a good idea if the select board would consider, if it's available, an exemption for those people that have been affected by COVID, to get an exemption. Because if we drop $20,000 off in here, it'll be like 2 cents on the tax rate. I mean, if you want to be meaningful, you could throw all the capital out and they still probably couldn't afford it. So, I mean, if you really want to be beneficial for the
Point is well
people,
taken. However, there are quite a few other budgets in town, and collectively, it seems to me that if your suggestion were to be followed, the taxes would go up much more for 75% of the people and down through rebates, or however the selectmen do it, for 25%. Those numbers are arbitrary, but my point is, you're asking a lot of everybody else and nothing of the services we get.
I don't know, that's a debate you can have. I'm just telling you that the amount you would affect somebody's tax bill that's suffering from COVID, being laid off or something like that, would be so minuscule if you cut out one piece of equipment. You're better off trying to accommodate directly those people. If they live in town, they can prove that they have some lost revenue or something like that. And if you get them by name, like people who are blind, they have to come forward and say who they are. People with veterans, they get an exemption. I'm hoping this is available to them, but that would be a direct way to benefit those people suffering.
That's true, but everybody else in town then has to pay more.
Well, that's life. I don't know what to say, Neil.
Well, the other solution is to spend less.
Yeah, but at what point? We've been failing in the past for police cars, buying them. We're failing in the past for doing road reconstruction up to a level that'll keep us on good roads. Been failing in the past for dump trucks. You know, we've enjoyed in the past not spending the full amount necessary, and now we're here today playing catch up because we didn't have the appropriate amount of capital in the past. So I don't know. That's beyond my pay grade. I'm just saying, if you really wanted to benefit those few people who are suffering from COVID, you could literally do it through an exemption process if it's allowed by DRA. You know, I'm just saying, if somebody is really suffering, they should get a benefit.
That works, Jack, if you're talking about a small number, but I think we're talking about in Ware as throughout the entire state. How
Well,
much longer-
I'm only worried about town of New Hampshire. And I'm saying, you know probably as much as I do, and I don't know a hell of a lot how many people fit into that. So, I don't know what to say.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments?
Ready for a motion?
I think so.
I'll make a motion, we forward the CIP to the selectmen for inclusion in the town warrant as presented by the CIP chairman.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion. I'm just gonna say, while I agree with Neil, and I also agree with Jack, at the same time, in 2008, if you'd have tried to raise my taxes 2 cents, I'd have flipped that. And I mean 2 cents, period, not 2 cents per thousand. I mean 2 cents, because I didn't have any money. I made more money in 1976 than I made in 2009. So I can appreciate what Neil's saying, but I am gonna, well, that's all I'm gonna say. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstain? Motion passes 4-1. Oh, you actually can't vote, because you weren't here in the beginning.
I've already seen it once.
3-1.
The buck will get passed to us Monday night, so.
I knew that. Thank you, Jack.
See you later.
How many years you been doing this? How many years you been doing this?
Too long.
No?
Ask me how many hours I've wasted
want these
waiting for
back
my
and-
turn. Probably 14 hours. Coming in as number one, but.
Excuse me.
Louis is number 3.
No, you were 2. You were number 2.
See you next year, buddy.
Oh, boy.
If you don't need yours, I'll take it back, because Naomi needs them for a selectmen's meeting.
I'll use it Monday night.
Thank you. Otherwise, you can keep it.
Next item on the agenda is minutes.
Minute.
I got an email from Neil, had a conversation with Kelly about the length or lack of brevity in our minutes that we got. I've seen it done both ways, where it is verbatim, word for word.
Yep.
Which these are real close to that, if they aren't. I prefer the brief minutes myself.
They don't have to be verbatim, they just need to be
No.
descriptive of what
They just
happened.
gotta, they just gotta say what happened.
But your minute taker,
He's used to doing
who's doing it now,
remotely.
she takes them off the,
Tape off the YouTube.
it's Karen, and
Yep.
she puts everything in there. That's her. That's her, the way she does it, she copies it word for word right off the tape.
Like a stenographer.
Yep.
Right.
That's her background, so. There's things to be said for both, one way or the
And
other.
Yeah, there is.
I thought that isn't this decision up to the board on how you accept your minutes?
The statute says that the minutes are there to just hit the highlights, they don't have to be word for word, but if they are, that's not a problem either, so. I
We
mean,
we were told by lawyers, never make them verbatim.
no. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if you forget something that's not in the minutes, and that's what they're gonna base it on, and they're gonna look, did you have a meeting? Yes. Oh, it was the
Yep.
minutes, and the minutes don't cover it completely, then you can get, it's a double-edged sword, so.
And there's a knack to figure out which conversation is needed, and it's,
So I guess it's,
Well, isn't what we decide the most important thing, as
yep,
opposed to
that's
the
about- that
detail?
should be the most important.
The detail needs to be the decision that we vote on.
it's your basic who, what, when, why. But yes, you're right, Pastor, it's the merit of, what was heard, the application, your waivers, your acceptance, your discussion, a little bit on the discussion, and then your motions. And it's 12 pages to review.
Just
But-
12.
Well,
But you have,
Yeah,
We get 7 and 8
transcribed.
on the average every week.
well, at least they're double spaced.
on what? When I notice that the next meeting is the 19th, it should be the 12th.
I guess I didn't read these before this, and I don't wanna sit here and read 12
I
pages.
didn't either, I just read it right away on page 2 at the bottom, it says inaudible. So we probably ought to figure out what I said there, but,
So the problem with that is that.
hey, we're wearing masks, so she can't hear us,
It's mumbling because of the mask, but it's also when people do this,
and mumbling because I
and the
mumble.
microphone, the paper shuffling, and the mumbling. Yeah, so if we pay attention to that,
Probably soils, Greg, wetlands
Yeah.
topography and soils.
I assume it was, I already wrote that down, but,
where are you, Bruce?
go on to page 2, last word. Nope,
Cage-
last word next to the last line.
Get the cages for the mask and it holds it out so you can hear it clearer.
Yeah,
Where it says inaudible, should say soils,
soils,
yes.
got it. Well, do you want to take time to review this so that you can say what needs to be there and what doesn't, and then,
I think so.
and we can take it up again on the 19th?
Yeah, we'll take it up again next week and go through and,
Do you have a
Red
copy of
line.
the minutes from, October 22nd, Neil?
Somewhere, I think somebody sent them to me.
Yep,
yes.
Karen did.
Yes,
They're gonna make some changes. I'd appreciate copies of the changes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, we're not doing anything tonight.
Okay.
They're kinda long.
no, but if you mark them up and send them in, and then I can,
Yeah.
I thought I did that, but send me another copy. And I'll try to redo them.
did you send it to Karen? Oh, you mean your notes?
I think you sent me a copy, Neil.
Those are just your notes.
Oh, okay, then
Yeah, I
why don't
think
you circulate that?
I got it.
Here we go.
Yep, I can do that. I think you sent that to me,
With the correction or his notes?
his corrections. Subdivision regulations, since Jack's here. Woo-hoo.
Doing subdivision first?
That's lucky.
Yes.
I think I told you before, but that's the most recent
Yeah, this
changes.
isn't, this,
And then I did find this. I found the sketches and
the sketches of,
back in a 1991. Yeah, they're not included in the,
oh, no.
Sketches of cul-de-sacs and
yeah.
cul-de-sacs and turn deleted somehow.
Yeah, they were missing from,
That's the one I got.
Yep.
Copy 8/14/2020.
8/14/2020 was the last time we updated it.
Yeah.
So everybody
Since
should have
since then,
that.
we've been waiting for people to show up.
We've been waiting.
Nobody to be mentioned.
It looks like this.
Been all over the place.
I've been on, yeah, it's been a terrible.
I understand.
Well, you came on board, so you probably have this, or it's probably part of your package.
The brand new,
Yeah, but it's probably,
I don't know what this, how do you know? I don't know.
okay, you can have this one, I guess.
So most of these changes were really kind of, what's the word I want? Housekeeping?
I guess you could call it that, we're looking at it, looks like housekeeping and bringing it up to what
Yeah,
the
the-
standard is,
And the sprinkler,
sprinklers and other NFPA standards.
and then we're going to, well, I don't know if it's in here, but it's in the application process, we're going to put PDFs so that all the departments and applicants and members can get PDFs, because a lot of them are not showing up for meetings. So we're gonna make that a requirement on the application.
You're probably gonna have to, it keeps an uptick on
I need to ask a stupid question on page 9.
Page 9. Yes?
4, we have crossed out, a dry hydrant is constructed with the yabba dabba doo. You have checking with chief.
Yeah, we didn't know why we crossed that out. Remember the discussion? We weren't sure why we had it crossed out.
Right, we never heard back.
No. I'll make a note in my minutes to do. Page 4. Check with chief.
Yeah, I know we had the conversation about a lot of dry hydrants weren't constructed properly, or sucking mud and hitting ice and that kind of stuff. But,
Plus with the drought,
well,
an
yeah,
example of that is in Brookline, that dry hydrant was dry. They had to bring relays from all different towns, from Massachusetts for water, so,
Quite the tanker shuttle.
yeah.
but that doesn't mean we should eliminate dry hydrants.
No, it just means that we should make sure they're constructed properly, and
Yes,
we still have to keep an eye on the water.
So on page 49 is where, number 3 is where I'll be adding PDF copy. And page 51.
hang on, I haven't got that far yet. 49. Okay,
Checklist.
Just a
Checklist.
checklist, yeah, so, and page 51 is noted too.
so actually it's 50, you're gonna stick it in, right? It's number 22.
What's that?
You'll actually be putting it on page 50, not 49. 49 gets continued over to 50.
Then how about page 51 also?
Yeah, 51 also. I'm just gonna add it to number 3.
You're not gonna give it a separate number, you're just gonna add it to that.
You're adding it to 3?
Oh, you're gonna stick it up there, okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna add it, I'm just gonna stick it in with there because it
Okay.
says
Feet set?
8 sets of
That
full
makes sense.
side and
Yep.
1 set of 11 by 17
Yep.
and PDF.
Yep, yep,
Because I'm not gonna go through a number change again.
no.
Unless Bruce makes me.
No,
No, we know Bruce can't make you.
God, I can make you laugh.
Make him turn red, too.
smile. and
Even
my
with a
ass.
mask, he's turning red.
I can make you drop. So just double check with the fire chief on that? Everything else?
I got a question on page 42. He's got some of them crossed out with check marks.
42.
Has to do with, well, page 42.
Yeah, that was 46, if that was what you're talking about.
Yeah,
that $3,500 was mentioned someplace else. That's why we crossed out there, because that fee is being
Right,
collected,
okay.
it's being collected somewhere else, rather than having it mentioned in two places, and
Yeah, instead
it
of
it wasn't quite worded right here, I don't think.
maybe make a note to have it refer to what the other one is.
Oh.
Because we've got it listed.
Well, no, because this is all about inspections, right? I gotta get my brain back into this part again.
Yeah, I gotta get back to the, I guess, because it was out of it was out of category too. But I can find the others.
This specifications,
So if you go back to page 35, Jack, you'll see that before commencement of system construction,
Remember we did some of that.
it's
but
the
I
same
didn't-
paragraph, so and that's under the general topic of fire protection systems.
Yes, so that's under specifications. We didn't think the fee had anything to do with specifications.
Right, so we just took it out of specifications.
So the fee is, I don't remember where it is anymore, but it's here.
I just, I
Page
just found it.
35.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
I mean, when you
Did that
publish
answer your
these out,
question?
if somebody gets them, that's what I'm saying, they're gonna look back and see a cross out, and they'll just
Well, it's
No.
gonna be,
put it out, yeah, refer to.
No, it won't be
you
there.
won't see it, you won't see it at all.
see it.
This is just a working draft.
Okay.
Yeah, you won't-
Doesn't-
you won't
it
see
say
the-
draft on it, so that's why I wanna
No, I
make
know,
sure.
you won't see the crossouts,
Somebody gets a hold of it, and it's like,
you won't
okay.
see this side. This is just this is what they call tracking changes.
Okay.
Copies? I'll need to add PDF on page 47 as well.
Oh, I guess so, yes.
You use the same application for lot line adjustments too?
Yeah. They don't have one in here specifically for that unless you want me to create one. Because I never know what checklist to go by for a lot line adjustment. Most of the surveyors do the,
Design review and a form,
design
same
review and
thing.
formal. They do both.
Yep. The only thing I would add is I wouldn't necessarily make them do a PDF for the conceptual, but I would ask them for one since we might be doing,
Where does it say consent?
it doesn't. We don't
Oh,
have, we
okay.
don't have a checklist, but if they,
Oh, yeah,
Up to
It would-
conceptuals are just hand-drawn.
yeah, but if they can give us a PDF, it'd probably be nice for,
yeah. It really, to review, it's gonna have to now with
yeah,
people.
especially if we're gonna go to Zoom.
If we're
Right,
going
especially if
Zoom
we're
or
gonna go
by
to
the
Zoom.
phone, right,
it's gonna be nice to have a PDF.
yeah, all right.
Yeah. In color.
I wish.
Don't stop.
So we're gonna keep the same application for lot lines? or we're
If I
gonna-
scan it to you, you
I don't
won't get
want
it in
to go
color.
I wanna get this, yeah.
No,
I'll have to
Yeah,
buy a
that's
colored
fine, but-
scanner.
any chance maybe we could somehow reference that, the same application for lot lines, like subdivision/lot line or something?
Where are you, Bruce?
On the titles of these applications and appendixes.
Appendixes, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, subdivision and lot line? Sure,
That's something, just to make it clearer that
yep.
we use the same form for it,
Application for subdivision and lot line review,
and lot line adjustment, LLA, yeah.
yep.
I'm not saying we need a new form, I think.
You don't do subdivision inspection schedule, do you do a lot line inspection?
No,
Application for. These are the sketches.
I think I'm okay as long as the chief weighs in on the dry hydrant.
Oh, okay.
We even got Benji's road width in there. My feet are getting cold. Causing my deer stand, I'll turn on my heater right now. Yes, I have a heater in my deer stand.
I know. I've looked at everything, and I'm like, okay, where's the bottle of? I didn't see
Not when you're
that.
hunting, no, not when you're hunting, no.
Well, maybe you, but I know there's been,
I know there are people,
past years ago.
I know, I know.
Whiskey in there.
Yeah, brandy, a lot of them.
Not with a gun in my hand, nope, 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 nope.
He's saying, because he's on TV.
So we're good except for the clarification on the dry hydrant.
Yep. And then I'll add the sketches back in as a full document. I'll even put a cover on it.
Are we all in agreement with that, that other than the dry hydrant, we're good?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Jack? Yes? Okay. So if you're not here again for some emergency, we can just go ahead and
Yeah, no,
fly this through with the chief?
Approve it?
no, that's-
Are you doing this one now? Private
Yes,
roads?
I was looking at this, what is this? Oh, I can't throw that away. We can keep that. Next item on the agenda is private roads. I threw something together real quick. About 2 weeks ago, and I added a little bit to it last night. Then I sent it out. About 15 minutes later, I looked at my phone and said, holy jeez, I got 10 emails. What's going on here? That was all about the Zoom thing.
Oh, yeah. Had nothing to do with it.
No, I had nothing to do with this. I thought, what did I say? Do you have a copy of that, Neil? Hello?
Did you email it to him?
Yeah,
Yes.
Neil,
You have a copy of the private road thing I sent out last night?
I do.
Okay.
I sent it out last night, I was already asleep, so.
No, you replied. It was 6:30.
Oh, I get the one about the Zoom, yeah, I replied on the Zoom part of it.
Yeah, the private road was the title of the
That was-
email.
that was
Yeah,
the-
well, I think I read Bruce's about the Zoom, I replied and it all to that, so I didn't read all of yours.
Bruce's
I
email.
was getting ready.
Gee, thanks.
You like that part where he says he's gonna make Kelly do this?
Yeah.
Basically, what I did is I took the
So,
same.
good luck to that.
I took the same definition I just took out, or where I said, or something like that.
Right.
The lucky thing he's not on Zoom, he's beat red. He's better than the fire trucks.
We're on TV though, everybody else can see it. Basically, what I did is I took
Not us.
the combination of about 3 different ordinances or articles and stuck them together for
The ones
this.
we discussed?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I threw this together real quick, like I said. Now, what I didn't put in here was anything about building permits on purpose. Because the zoning ordinance right now says you can't get a building permit. You can't
Right.
build on a private road.
Right.
I didn't say anything about that.
No. But we-
This is how to create a private road. Doesn't say you can build on it.
That's right.
All I'm doing is saying how you can create one.
So they still have to get a variance.
Yep.
And then they have to come here and get a conditional use, so it's 2 steps.
First, they'd have to get a conditional use to get the private road. Then they'd have to get a variance to get a building permit on the private road.
So by the time they get done, it'll be a 3-step process.
So first you gotta make,
Maybe.
first you gotta make the road private.
Yeah.
Right.
Or basically, it's more like they're gonna construct the road and make it private.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Then, because there's no building on there, they have to go for a ZBA variance to build on that new private road. Okay. And I think that should be spelt out somewhere in there.
What?
They need to,
Yeah, the steps, the process.
No,
No? Why? Why wouldn't you lay it out for them, reading this?
why would I lay it out for them in the zoning article? That's the code enforcement officer's job. Because I don't like. Don't you start doing that. I'm not gonna make you do anything. I don't like having something in Article 37 that references Article 4. Then you change Article 4 and you don't change Article 37, and then you got a conflict in your ordinance.
That makes sense.
and,
Thank
yeah,
you.
then that causes another issues.
But as long as during the discussion of the minutes, so if somebody 20 years from now could go back and say, so what was the intent of this private road? So the discussion that we'll put in the minutes is because, one, you first have to call it a private road, and then you have to have a ZBA to build on it. Because of that article, that
Because of the
1711, right.
Right.
over 2 houses.
Right, because right now, if you have you have 2 houses on a shared driveway,
Mm-hmm.
you can't have 3. So if you're gonna have 3 driveways, you gotta make it a private road.
Right,
This is how you make it a private road.
right,
Then you gotta get a zoning variance to get the 3rd building permit.
okay. So you're not just puffing it into a private road because it's got 3 driveways on it.
Right,
You
Correct.
have to go through a conditional use.
right.
Everything in the zoning ordinance still staying the same way. So
Yes.
that's the intent, and that's how you enforce codes, is by the intent of that discussion. Okay,
Yes.
that's what okay.
So I picked 22 feet out width, kind of at random, kind of from the subdivision regulations.
That'll please Benji.
Structural section, the gravels, I think, should be the same.
Yeah.
And again, I think we can and should be able to waive the pavement requirement on a private road.
Yep. Probably the only codicil to that would be, yeah, waive the pavement, but have an apron off the paved road onto the private road.
Sure, like a driveway.
4 foot or 6 foot, whatever.
Follow
At
the
that-
driveway
I think it's-
regulations.
Well, yeah,
I
so
think the
they, that
driveway's
way,
8.
them driving, if they don't maintain part of their private road properly, it's not gonna impact the
The road,
pavement on the
yeah.
town road, that they're not gonna. it's not
This,
gonna-
that would be for a new private road?
Yeah,
The new driveway coming off the private road.
No, a new
No,
private road off
this
the
is
town
to get
road.
onto the private road from the town
Or from the
road.
town road to the
roads with
private.
yeah, have an apron.
So, if
So
you
how
think
big is the
of
apron on
Ann's
driveway?
Drive is a private road, right?
Pardon me?
Ann's Drive?
Yeah.
I
But it
think
does
on the-
not
on
have
the
an
driveway
apron.
is pretty much
This
to the
is
lot
from
line,
now
right?
on, at
Whatever
this point
that
forward,
length
so
is.
if we have one,
Right.
I would say that way, because, you know, the maintenance of the private road is upon those people, the people there. And if, you know, say Benji spends this money, or whoever the highway superintendent spends the money to pave the road, do it all up, and then, you know, he'll do some of it, but at some point, you know, if they don't maintain the gravel end of it, and they go to keep driving in and out, and it may, and hauling equipment, if they haul a truck in there or anything else, it may break down the edge of the pavement, and whose responsibility is that at that point? It's ours.
So I can add a sentence to get after where I say planning board may waive the requirement of pavement, period. The private road shall have an 8-foot paved apron from
Yeah.
edge of pavement.
Yep. 8-foot paved apron, okay,
That's what the driveway regulations say.
yep. That's in section 8.7,
36.3.4.9.
36.3.4.9. Got it.
So that would be,
That's zoning then. You're in zoning if you're in Article 36.
Yes, I am.
It's section 8.7 out of your subdivision regs.
8.7 is kind of short compared to 36.
No, subdivision regs is 8.7.
Yes, 8.7 is kind of short compared to Article 36 in the zoning. Don't look at me that way.
Roadway designs. Oh, it's now 8.2 because we crossed off a lot of things.
Greg,
Hello. Yes.
if this goes through the way it's written, have we created another way for what is effectively a subdivision without meeting subdivision regulations?
No.
I put in a 50, a private road and get building permits for 50 homes on it.
You have to get a variance to do that.
Yes, can I do it?
With a variance, yes.
I thought the purpose of this was to require a conditional use permit.
For the road.
For the road.
So this is, you don't think this is a giant loophole?
No. I think it's probably the opposite, where the planning board's gonna make them build a private road almost to town standards, to be a gravel road. Just town
Right,
standards.
but then I could put more lots on this than I would be allowed if I were to build a subdivision and meet the subdivision requirements.
No, if you'd have to have so many variants, you have to have a variance for frontage, you have to have a variance for building on a private road, you have to have, I don't know what all variances are off the top of my head.
Frontage on the private road wouldn't count as the frontage required to subdivide a lot.
The frontage on a private road is not frontage, by definition.
So then how can you get, how can you give people, how can you create a lot on a private road and get a building permit?
Theoretically, you can't unless you get a variance.
Right.
Just like, as is the case now.
So what change is this making?
Makes it, gives construction standards to a private road, basically.
Because you may have two houses, a shared driveway, a third one will make it a private
Right,
road.
you have two houses on a shared driveway, you get a variance to put a third house on a private road. This tells you how to build the road.
It gives the planning board teeth on how they have to build the road. How they have to upgrade the
Only thing
road.
this does?
That's it. How to create a private road.
So if I can create a private road now, I can do it under this ordinance. The only difference is that under this ordinance, I have to build it up to class 5 specs.
Right now, there's no specs on a private road.
Correct. And the only change we're making is, in effect, requiring people to build the private road to class 5 specs before they can get a building permit.
Before they can get a
Before they get a
variance.
variance to get a building permit, yes.
Can they get a variance from the private road requirement of class 5 construction?
Sure. You can get a variance from everything.
You can't stop that.
What was the question?
Can you get a variance from requiring a conditional use permit? Yeah.
Yeah. You get, like you said, get a variance from
You
anything.
can get a variance from requiring a conditional use permit, yes.
Doesn't mean you'll get it, though.
You can get a variance and build in wetlands if you want to.
Let me, I think I understand what you're saying. I hope you're not going to act on this tonight, because I'd like a chance
Oh, no.
to
This is,
sort
this,
of revise this and make some changes to make it clearer.
this is just for zoning amendment discussions, so it's, no.
okay,
We're nowhere
fine,
near
fine.
final yet.
We're not starting zoning changes. till
We haven't
December.
even noticed any,
Yeah,
we haven't noticed it yet.
We haven't even started zoning changes yet, but I threw this out early. Because we've been
No,
talking.
I understand that, but
Okay.
before you send it out, before we put it before the public formally, I'd like to make sure
yes.
that we're doing the best we can
Yes.
as of what we have to do at that time. And I think there's a lot of, at least the way I read it, there's a lot of questions that I had about what the wording actually did. I think I understand now what you're trying to do, and I'll try to,
I'm trying to make it difficult to create a private road.
no,
Yes,
you're
I
not
am.
trying to make it difficult, you're trying to make sure that a private road is
Okay.
built to a certain standard in order to protect the people who might have houses on that private road.
Okay. It's gonna be more difficult,
That
too.
too.
Yeah.
It's gonna be more difficult,
Yeah,
more expensive.
That's true, but that's not the purpose of the ordinance.
Okay. You're being politically correct again, aren't you? Are you leaving?
I get her to go sign some papers.
Can you read the last paragraph before you go sign some papers?
Sure.
The conditional use permit is required for any new building permits on an existing private road.
Right.
Any type of building permit or just a new home building permit? Accessory structure?
That's why I asked you guys to read it.
A
Well, Jack's
conditional
still,
use permit is required for any new building permits on existing private road.
So if-
so if
if
I
I'm
have a
building a
house,
garage to the house.
right, if I have a house on a private road and I want to build a garage, I gotta come in here for a conditional use permit.
Right,
Or if you're building a 110 square foot doghouse.
because it could be 110-foot square dog, yeah.
I could be building a
Or it
shed.
could be
I
a
could be building a
6-stall
dock.
garage.
I could be building a dock.
Yeah, but what if there's 8 houses on that
Could be a.
road already and I wanna build a garage? You're gonna make me
It depends
build
on
a
what your
road?
garage is. I mean, you could,
Oh, no, it's just a regular 2-car
well,
garage
some
on
people
my.
might put a 6-stall garage with an in-law apartment upstairs, so
Well,
what is that?
But
my-
even though, am I responsible to bring the road up to class 5 now, according to this? There's 8 of us that live on the road, and I'm the only one that wants a garage right now.
That's a good question.
That's why I said, read the last paragraph. Because I'm saying we could change the width according to 37.3.1, but I'm saying we can't waive the
Conditional use,
structural section of the road.
no?
I'm saying we can't waive that. Can't waive the horizontal vertical geometry.
No,
I think the whole purpose of the private road is.
So therefore, if you're building a garage on a private road, you may have to upgrade a whole bunch of private road to get your garage built.
Yeah, but I'm not doing a new driveway, which triggers,
it's not a driveway.
That's not a driveway, there's nothing to do about driveway. This is
Nothing to do with the
definitely,
driveway.
well,
There's
this
no-
is, this is a third driveway, creates a private road.
Third house creates a private
Right,
road.
but I'm not building a house, I'm just building a garage,
there's already a private road, you're trying to get a building permit on a private road.
just for a garage, though.
Well, I don't care what you're building, you're trying to get a building permit on a private road.
So you're gonna have to get a variance.
You don't need a variance for a garage on a private road right now.
Why not?
Get a building permit, you're gonna need it.
I thought it said building new homes.
You're gonna get a building permit, doesn't say new homes, it's a building permit. You're gonna get a building permit. So you're amending the, creates a dilemma.
I think I would like a legal review on that sentence. I don't wanna open up a whole can of worms with code enforcement, be a code enforcement nightmare.
Oh, I like making new cans of worms for the code enforcement.
Okay, so,
Okay, go sign your papers.
good evening, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Ladies, so,
Bye,
see you later.
okay.
Where is that in here?
17.1.1,
17.1?
are you in the zoning?
Yes.
Oh, 711? You under 711?
7.1 says about amendments.
Then I bring my zoning with me. Oh, maybe it's in here, because,
Unfortunately, I was kind of mad at Bruce when I was typing this, because I couldn't find my new zoning ordinance, 'cause the last time I saw it, I was like, see, Bruce, you need this one, and I didn't think I got it back, so I was using the old one.
What are you looking for?
Some places says you can't build on a private road.
1711.
that's what I thought,
17?
1711.
You said 7.
Well, then you said 17, and I said, well, maybe it's 7.
When I said 17, I was questioning, I wasn't
Oh,
stating,
yeah, 1711.
Class 6.
which is a really strange place to put it, by the way, but that's all right.
Tell me about it.
No building permits for new homes shall be issued on a class 6 or private road.
Love it when I'm right. You can't make me change my mind. So, I don't
Bruce
know,
can.
I think you're opening a can of worms by saying any new building permit.
I know.
But what's your
I know
intent?
that.
What would you like to happen if somebody built a garage on a private road? What's your intent? What was the purpose?
My intent?
Yeah, so that we can maybe reword it a little bit instead of,
I don't think,
if I understand what you're trying to do from somebody building a garage on a road, you want that particular person to build the whole road to class 5 because they're
with,
putting a
with
garage?
1711, saying no new building permits
No
for
new homes.
new homes,
Right.
then I don't think we need this
I don't think I've made anybody get a variance to build a garage on a private road, or an accessory structure or a shed or something. I don't think I've ever,
I mean, it's already in zoning that you can't build a house.
No, the private road exists. Right? All you gotta do is get a variance from 17.11.
Mm-hmm.
You're gone.
But if the private,
yeah, this is just when a new private road is created.
Until you get to 37.5.
Yeah, I don't think I like that, but that's not up to me, that's up to you guys. But I'm just telling you, it's code enforcement nightmare. And I don't think you can take that vested right from somebody's single-family home to not put an accessory structure on, where everywhere in the zoning it tells you you can have an accessory structure. You know, ask the attorney how they feel about it.
So, all I gotta do is add, change it, say a conditional use permit is required for any new building permits for new homes on an existing private road.
Yes, for new homes.
you know, I wouldn't mind changing it instead of home to say dwelling unit.
I'm just making
Well, you
sure
would
I'm
match
copying
the
17.11.
Okay.
Because then now you would have to get into, do you have a definition for dwelling? I don't know. But we have one for homes, so.
Yeah, new homes would be more reasonable.
Why, what's your thinking, that a dwelling would mean something different?
Yeah, it's adding an accessory apartment is a dwelling.
That's still a home. If you build a home, I'm considering an ADU that's inside the home,
Right.
I wouldn't consider that a new home, because a home already exists.
So if I'm building a garage, then I put an apartment above it, you're gonna call it a new home? There's a breezeway that goes to the house, so it's connected.
No, because the ADU, the reason that they have the regulations for ADUs is because it's so much less square footage. It's such an accessory part of the primary
I
dwelling.
understand that, I'm asking the question.
Yeah. But my take on it would be, it's not a new home, it's part of,
It's accessory to the existing home.
yeah.
It's called accessory dwelling, so
I
it's a-
know, but to me, I mean, it's a little more, because it's got a little more impact than it does just a regular garage, but
No,
is it a new home? No.
If that language matches 17.11, that's fine, right? So,
17.11 says no building permits for new homes shall be issued on class 6 or private roads.
Hey, guys, isn't the language in 37.5 about any new building permits the right language, because it prevents the expansion of a non-conforming pre-existing use?
No, because it had a variance to be there. That home already had a variance to be there.
Maybe. Pre-existing
Pre-1988,
non-conforming.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, but there's.
But you already say non-con,
Does 37.5, is that contradictory to the purpose of this article, is to allow the establishment of private roads through a conditional use permit?
no.
So now you're saying the building of a home on that road is something that's different than the establishment of the road? Or as you said earlier, 17.11 covers 37.5.
I think 37.5 now says you have to do both.
Mm.
So in order to build a new home, you have to come for a conditional use, and then you're gonna go for a variance. That's what it tells me,
Well, okay, back up a little bit.
okay?
I think Article 4.1 doesn't necessarily have anything to do with Article 37, except it defines what a private road is
Mhm.
and how you create it.
Right.
37.1 is what we do with private roads, or 37.
Right, 1 year
Yeah,
defining.
but you say that on 37.2, the purpose of this article is.
Oh, okay, now that's where you're getting it.
That's where I'm getting it. That's why it's, it's,
Oh, I see what you're saying, because it says it right in there, no building permits for new homes is allowed without a variance.
right.
So why are you saying a
do
conditional
re-
use is required too? Is that what you're looking for? You're looking for both?
I'm looking at a way to get the private road upgraded slowly but surely. To where it's a decent road.
Yeah,
And you
That's
do,
what I'm
and you
look-
do that
that's-
in Article
that's-
37.2.
right.
For new
So,
ones,
what's that?
for new roads.
Yeah,
But it
We got an
wouldn't-
existing private road with 6 houses on it.
well, I don't know if you can do that.
If you put a seventh house on, I would think I can.
I don't know.
Yeah, then you need 37.5.
Again, I'll play the
So-
devil's advocate.
But then you,
My parents, I inherited this land, my parents gave me 10 acres on a private road. Sawyer Road, top of Sawyer Road.
Yep.
And now I wanna build on it. I have to bring that whole road up to class 5 when there's already 8 houses on there. Nobody else had to do anything.
Hmm.
Why am I?
Because we don't like you.
Because you're making me do this.
We're gonna make you do it.
so does
I'm
that,
just playing devil's advocate. I
so you
don't know
still
if a
need, you
lawyer
still
would.
need to get a variance to get the permit to build, right?
Yeah, but you can get a variance to build on a private road.
Right,
'Cause
so.
now that's my land,
so
I have a vested
we-
right to build on it.
So if we leave this in here, we're really talking only about new private roads, not existing private roads.
Like Pondview, is a Pondview? Goes around the
Yeah.
backside of Mount William.
Yeah,
There's a whole bunch of houses down there, and there's
Yeah.
still a couple of empty lots.
right. So if
Well,
I
there's
built,
been
if
some
I built
houses
on
been-
that
And,
lot,
and those empty lots are way down.
I think that's asking.
Well, there's been at least 1 or 2 houses built on that road
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
in the last 5 years.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
And they didn't have to do anything.
Yeah,
which is a problem, but where do you begin trying to fix it without having some legal issue or somebody come by and say that you can't take that right away from me, you can't make me,
And how do you get 20 people to sign a road agreement
right?
that are already in there?
Right. Well, we do individual,
Well-
once, they have been, when they get a variance, they do have to sign an agreement.
The person
A
getting the
liability.
variance.
right. Because you're dealing, it's not just the safety of the road you travel on, it's the safety of the fire apparatus that has to go down that road.
Correct. I mean, I understand what you're trying to do, but I don't know if legally, I mean, it's just a good question for a legal.
I mean, that's kind of, that's duplicating the effort of the variance to build on a private road anyway. To say you gotta get a conditional use permit, and then say, oh, by the way, you gotta go to variance too.
Okay, so let's go the other way. Let's go with, I have a variance to build my home. I'm on a private road. So when I build a garage, or an ADU or something like that, I was thinking it's gonna put more traffic on the road and then you could justify upgrading, but it doesn't really. It's still a single family.
ADU put a little bit, I guess, but
Yeah, it's another car though. I don't know.
That's one to think about.
You wanna try to fix the existing private roads now from being overcrowded or getting variance all the time. Is that what you're trying to do?
upgrade the private road. Yes.
So at what time?
And not allow so many more homes on it year after year after year without any condition, without anything.
Well, they're not gonna be able unless they're
Without
gonna
the
have to come for a subdivision in order to put those additional homes.
Lot
Unless
already
there's lots
exists.
already there.
Right, the lot already exists.
So what did we talk about a couple meetings ago where the guy, he builds to this lot and then he builds to the next lot?
Oh, yeah, East Shore
You
Drive
know,
still has a
and-
bunch of empty lots on it.
And continues to build the road as he builds a house on each lot. at what point in time does that
Well,
need to
that's,
be addressed?
yeah, that's subdivision, that's master plan too.
I don't think we're desiring to make this a difficult thing,
No, no.
but we're trying to
No.
make it a safety issue and a quality of, in one sense, a quality of life issue for those who would like to have a private road, but it has to meet some type of standard.
Right. And they're a problem now, and it's only gonna get worse the more that they build on it.
So in the last 10 years, how many homes have we seen built on private roads? A lot?
A lot,
3 or 4 a year.
at least.
Okay.
And lately, I have a lot of the old camps being lifted with full foundations underneath
Yeah.
for full-time use, year-round. I have 3 on
Conversions?
East Shore, I have 4 on East Shore, I got 2 on Craig Road, that,
Yeah.
major renovations on there.
Well, that one is,
So those private
it's
roads are
got-
being
it's got
used more
oceanfront
often than just.
you now, that one house.
The what?
That one house on Craig Road has oceanfront view.
The one on stilts?
Yeah, it's huge.
Guess I haven't seen that.
I saw that from my boat, I'm like, what? I got a picture of my phone,
Yeah,
as a matter
it's
of fact.
crazy.
I was,
Yeah, that's the one, yeah. Oh, I guess I have to think about that one.
So, are you just gonna take on 37.5 new building permits out and just say new homes on an existing private road?
But they already need a variance.
Right.
So I don't even know if you need that sentence in there.
let me work on this some more.
Yeah,
You gave me some ideas. Dot, 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 dot. I'll figure the rest of that out. Okay, thank you.
looks good though.
I got something on paper, I'm gaining. So we gotta look at minutes. You're gonna take care of the fire chief and the dry hydrant.
Yep,
I got this. What else you got? Administrative items.
was there anything in that mailing that I showed you? Got a notice for Nashville putting up a cell tower, if anybody wants to go for a reason.
Oh, I'm worried about cell towers in Nashville. That's right up on my list.
The land use survey, National Flood Insurance Program,
We don't need to do anything for that. I read that letter.
agenda for the 19th, we can cross off Frank Burl on Rockland, because he's asked for.
So we can't cross it off. We have to open and continue it.
Yeah, okay. I mean, for your own people out there.
Did you send that?
It might be in your brown envelope.
No.
No.
The agenda
is
wasn't in
not,
there? Okay.
no.
Okay, cool, never mind, I'll do up a new one anyway.
But we're not doing, are we doing, AG paintball that day too?
No, apparently he doesn't want to. He's
That's
not
December.
ready. He
So-
submitted some paperwork, but,
That's December.
yeah, he said December.
So we're just gonna do, what's his name, Rogers.
You have,
Yeah.
you have Don Rogers,
And we have,
Deering Center Road, you have
Tebow.
subdivision, yeah, and you have the farmer's market continuation.
oh yeah.
You gotta send the agenda for that.
And I'll send an agenda when I send the notice for the site walk.
Okay.
It's kind of tough when it's only a week apart here. But yeah, I'll send it. Yeah, City of Nashua. Although, we already missed their meeting. And that was it.
Anything else? Neil, you gonna make a motion?
Never.
I had to ask. Okay, we'll just sit here.
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 9:25.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Were you gonna vote for it, but you wouldn't make the motion?
Oh,
You got it.
Okay.
are we definitely going to Zoom in December?
I can't say for sure, definitely, I don't know. I would
sure hope
assume
so.
so, December would be fine, but are you all set with this?
Yes.
Bruce, would you be interested if Naomi, you be able to come in one day during the week? Okay, good, that would help me a lot. To know somebody
So-
else knows how to do it, and if anything ever happened and I'm not here, you could do it.
So we're meeting like December 10th and 17th, right?
Yep,
Okay.
We shutting this off?
and next
Yes,
week,
we're done.